and most relationships, or oftentimes relationships, are an opportunity for deeper healing for both the individuals, for the individual self and the other person as well. The challenge is most people enter into relationships from a transactional or conditional perspective. For example, transactional might be, I need you to pay the bills and I'll take care of the home. That's a transaction. There's a give and take involved in that type of dynamic, and there's nothing wrong with that. Spiritual relationships actually have a deeper purpose, a deeper meaning in them. I want to read something to you I read on Jason Gaddis's Instagram. He says, relationships are, or I wrote down, relationships are a gateway to healing. And what he wrote is, good relationships heal trauma. Just being in a good one can repair years of hurt, feeling unseen and feeling alone. Thus, relationships are a path to healing and personal transformation. Again, that was Jason Gaddis, okay? Here's the challenge for many of you. You're experiencing unhealthy, transactional, or conditional relationships that cause most people to suffer on the inside. And because being in a bad relationship feels better than being alone, wounded people, I want to repeat that. Being in a bad relationship feels better than being alone. I think so many people sadly subscribe to this, and wounded people who haven't done the inner work, that haven't done the healing, oftentimes suffer the most. And relationships are an opportunity to expand oneself on your individual journey. Now, let me pause for a second. If you happen to watch the interview I did with Rabbi Manis Friedman, he shared something very profound. When two whole people enter into a relationship, ideally the container of marriage is the path for deeper growth for the individual. The challenge is when a person shows up unhealed, stuck in their wounds, stuck in the past and whatnot, they need, in the container of a relationship is very difficult to grow from. Okay, so I just shared that from that perspective. Now I want to lean into how to know it's time to move on, because that's really what this title is about. How do you know it's time to move on? I just have to read my notes for a second. I said, if your needs for closeness, commitment, safety, and trust are unmet after several attempts or requests to meet those needs. I'm going to repeat that. If your need for closeness, commitment, safety, and trust are unmet after several attempts or requests to meet those needs, or you need deeper healing outside of the container relationship, which will block your individual expansion, it's time to move on. So let me expand upon that for a second. Maybe look at it this way. The person cannot grow with you or meet you in the container of a committed relationship, or maybe you being in the relationship can't cause you to grow. Okay, I want you to really think about this for a moment. I know this might sound like a lot of gobbledygook or whatnot, but the reality is if two people choose to enter into the dynamic of a relationship, the relationship is an opportunity to co-create something. Let me repeat, that's an opportunity to co-create something together, to build something together. The problem is dating today has more to do with entertainment and having a good time instead of exploring the real purpose of a relationship. And the purpose of a relationship is for two people to grow together, to build something together. And the purpose of dating is vetting that person to determine if they can grow with you. And as I said earlier, you might meet someone you can't grow with, or maybe the confines of a relationship makes it difficult for you to grow. In either case, it's time to move on. It's time to let go. The challenge with letting go is it oftentimes feels painful. It feels painful to let go because we become attached to another person. Once you think about it, we become attached to another person. And the minute we become attached, it's hard to let go. In fact, many people just double down on the relationship. In some cases, they double down just absolutely being silent to making requests for closeness, commitment, safety, and trust. Many of you ladies have duct tape on your mouth and you're afraid to speak up. If you're in a relationship where you're afraid to speak up, if you're in a relationship where you're afraid to ask for your needs, then you're in the wrong relationship. Either they're not the right person for you, but quite frankly, if you can't speak up, you're not the right person for him. I know that's hard to believe, but that means you have individual work that needs to be done. So why am I diving into this today? I have something to share with every one of you that relates to this from a very personal level. And I've crafted a letter, which is going to be posted in about 45 minutes on my channel, and I want to read it to everyone, okay? And the letter goes like this. Dear friends, romantic love doesn't follow rules, and the journey of coupling most likely is for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. As many of you know, for the past year, someone special entered my life, and our experience together has taught me so much about what it means to truly love, and more importantly, what it means to go all in. The gifts experienced all these months throughout our union are more than I could have imagined, except for one, the all in. With deep sadness, I announce today that my romantic connection with Marie has ended, and we are transmuting our relationship into something new over the next few weeks. I do not doubt that our souls were meant to connect because there was a deeper healing for each of us as part of our journey. Sometimes even great love isn't about going the distance. It might just be about shining a light on the places where our little kid hasn't fully stepped into our adult, and romantic love can be a container for more significant expansion and growth. Moving in together was a leap of faith, and thankfully we treated each other with respect. And as we said to each other often, we make great roommates, which is rare for those of us in midlife who are pretty set in our ways. We were so enmeshed in our daily lives that finding our space back into our I after being a we for so many days might take some time, and we're both a little scared. We are parting with respect, gentleness, and most of all, love. We are celebrating the profound lessons learned, and with gratitude for an incredible love and blessings, too many to count. Marie helped me break open the fear of taking care of someone and my dependency on others, which I've experienced my entire life, especially helping me discover who I truly am as a man and what it means to love oneself and love another. If I'm being honest with you all, there's nothing easy about writing this message or sharing this message with you. And please know my inner child is hurting, and I'm sad, and I know Marie feels the same way. Endings can be uncomfortable, bordering on painful. And at the same time, I choose to imagine more extraordinary things for both of us coming our way. While we are sad, we hold space for our relationship to find its new form over the next few months as we unravel our joint lives into our individual lives. And please know we're in a good place. And while it's rare to say this, we both feel like this is the right thing to do. I know for many of you, this might come as a shock because we shared so publicly our relationship. We shared so publicly our journey. And I did so because, particularly for those that explore a long distance relationship, but more importantly, the importance to go all in. And interesting enough, I think all in, the all in of all in is marriage. You know, the second version of all in is engagement prior to marriage. And the third version of all in is living together. And that's what we did. And I want you to know something. We did this with the best intentions. I know for a fact that Marie went into this because she was the one who moved. It took a lot of courage to make a change in her life. And I give her a lot of credit for making that move. And we had a wonderful relationship. So you might be asking, why is it ending? You're probably curious. You're all going, why? Well, as I said in the beginning of this broadcast, sometimes two people can't meet each other where they need to be met, Or it might be that a person needs to grow and they can't do so in the container of this relationship. Marie wasn't happy living in Los Angeles, but she recognized there was something deeper going on for her. She was really thirsty for her tribe, her community, particularly her Colombian roots. And it was difficult for her because in her case, she was retired. So basically our relationship had to fully fulfill her. And what we both learned is one individual can't fulfill all your needs. And that put pressure on our dynamic to some degree. And while I'm blessed to be able to share with you what brings me the most passion in life is an understanding of human behavior and relationships, sadly, Marie didn't have that going for her right now. And she wants to go back to her roots. She wants to go back to her tribe. And where many of them live are in Florida and in Colombia. And because of that, she couldn't do this in the container of our relationship. So we had a very conscious uncoupling. We really, we did this with a lot of love. And while we're still in the parts of breaking up, if you will, logistically speaking, we've done this with a lot of love. Now I'll share with you, I noticed there was a change in her a few months ago. I noticed her pulling back. Why I'm bringing this up is you probably have experienced the same thing. You noticed a shift within someone. And during that shift, we had a number of conversations with one another. And as she was sorting this out for herself, she was struggling to share her truth with me because she was in a state of confusion. And it wasn't until her most recent trip to Colombia that she did get a handle on it. And thankfully, because I'm attuned, we could have a conversation. Thankfully, because I have a voice, we could have a conversation. What I mean by a voice is thankfully because I'm unafraid to speak my truth in a kind, loving way. We were able to open up this conversation and recognize that the two of us weren't really getting our total needs met in this relationship. And it was going to be very difficult to do this in the container of commitment, in the container of logistics. And many of you probably have found yourself in very similar situations. I'm going to tell you something. The year I've been with Marie has been the best year of my life. I mean, really has. I have no regrets. I am so grateful for this experience. She taught me so much, and I hope she feels the same way. I know she feels the same way. You know, if I hadn't done the self-love work, if I hadn't done, by the way, here's a copy of my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. Why I'm bringing this up, if I had not done the work ahead of time, this would have been a devastating experience for me. This is what so many people experience, is a devastating experience because they've given their power away to another person. I never gave my power away to her. That's why this doesn't feel devastating. Now, that's not to say it doesn't feel sad. I got to tell you, prior to hitting the record button today, my hand was shaking because I know many of you had high hopes for us. It almost feels like an embarrassment that I introduced her. And to the extent that I expanded upon the relationship, I did so because what I wanted everyone to recognize is if you don't go in consciously, if you go in unconsciously, if you only focus on the entertainment, then you possibly could find yourself in a position of being devastated when one person doesn't meet you where you're at. In our case, we went in all in the best we could at where we were at in our lives. And she's in a slightly different place, and I don't fault her for that. You know, we had our differences. Humans, we all have our differences with another person. You have to accept that. And what we learned through radical honesty, what we learned through laying our cards on the table, what we learned in the rules of engagement through this experience, that our journey was meant to be for exactly as long as it was. And now we're parting in two different directions. And there's still going to be love between us, not that romantic love, but that love of just like, I care about this other person. And I know she genuinely cares for me. Doesn't mean that we're going to, be best buddies. She's going to be moving to Florida, but we will still be in each other's lives because love doesn't love is never wasted. And honestly, I want the best for her, just like she wants the best for me. I want to say, did we see this coming? I know many of you are going to bring up, oh, we saw this coming, Jonathan. We knew she wasn't right for you. I had a lot of detractors in the group. Some of that was based on your own egos expressing. Did I see this coming? I don't know if it matters if I saw it coming. What matters most is how we both showed up in this relationship. We did our best to be conscious, communicative, expressive. We dealt with things immediately. We didn't sweep them under the rug. Plus, we traveled, and I got to listen. I'm a homebody, and she got me out of my cocoon. I am so grateful for that. She allowed me to see parts in myself that I couldn't see, and I think that's what happened for her. I had someone write, Jonathan, if you overanalyze this relationship, you'll lose Marie. She's right and she's wrong in that comment. See, what happened was our relationship, through my experience in human behavior, we had an opportunity to explore that she had a horrific childhood, a really horrific childhood, a very traumatic childhood. And she had 2 very traumatic relationships after that. Many of you might relate to that. And through that, while she had done some healing in that, she really hadn't done the deeper work to heal what was hurting inside of her. And she recognizes now that that has to be done outside of the container of a relationship. Many of you are choosing people who are unconscious to their childhood wounds and traumas and adult traumas, and they're so stuck in their childhood wounds and traumas and adult traumas that they're not able to grow with you in the container of a relationship. And I recognize that this can be very frustrating for you. But going in consciously, that requires, well, first off, going in without giving your power away, going in with the best intentions, but more importantly, going in intentionally speaking. Dating today is just a protracted version of friends with benefits. And I'm here to explore, as the weeks and months go on, as we unravel the tapestry of our lives, and as I put myself in the position of attracting a new partner in my life, whether it happens or not, the most important relationship I have is the relationship I have with myself. And why I'm saying this is the most important relationship you have is the relationship with yourself, whether you are mated or not. See, when you show up fully whole and you meet someone else fully whole and you're whole, you can join together in union and then explore the nooks and crannies of that particular expansion and growth. This is hard, guys. This is hard. Because I know you guys really, many of you really appreciate our relationship, and I'm sad. I'm going to miss that daily interaction. I had fun with Marie. I think of it, I said to a friend of mine the other day, where we just won the Super Bowl and now we're retiring from the game. And what I meant by that is we're really leaving on a high note because this wasn't an issue with the other person. We didn't have criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. This wasn't one of those relationships where there was anger, resentment, suffering going on all involved. We really showed up as 2 whole human beings loving each other as good friends love each other. And that's something to celebrate. And what I'm here to encourage everyone to do is to recognize that maybe some of you are in a relationship right now where you can't grow as a person or they can't grow with you as a person. And it's okay to let go and move on. This is why I continually encourage doing the personal development work, self-help, and spiritual work, so you can begin to explore a more conscious way of dating, mating, and relating. And I'll be sharing more of my journey as the weeks and months progress. First off, thank you for allowing me to share this with you. I see a lot of comments in here, which I won't get a chance to read till later. I appreciate that. I do want to open it up for questions.